Welcome to the K-State Insiders, your Kansas State sports show. Now, let's head into the studio.
The Insiders are back, more like we originally intended. Great week last week talking to two different panels of former players. It was remarkable if you haven't seen them. Those guys love K-State, and everything they said came from that. And it was really cool to hear so many guys from different backgrounds all kind of say the same thing. And we don't have a former player, but we do have a K-Stater with us tonight. First of all, I'm Fitz, and the GoPowercat gang's here with me. Cole Carmody, Ryan Gilbert, and Brien Hanley. Brien and I will be on the Big 12 Insiders tomorrow with the weekly Big 12 Power Rankings. And we're joined by Scott Reynolds, 1995 K-State graduate, and he is me, but with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He runs Pewter Report. And Scott, you got a couple pretty darn good K-Staters, including a young guy that we all love, and Cole knows very well.
Yeah.
Family friends, but you got a couple K-Staters down there to cover. This got to be fun.
Yeah, it is. Jacob Parrish got his first NFL sack yesterday on Tyrod Taylor for the Jets in that 29-27 thrilling win by the Buccaneers over the Jets. And I tell you, he has played lights out. I mean, he is a third-round steal. I think if you were to get to the end of his rookie season and then you kind of redraft, right, as we in the media like to do, we like to second-guess things. Imagine that, right? But you probably would say he's a second-round pick. I mean, the 4-3-5 time, and I have not seen him make a rookie play yet. I mean, he plays like a seasoned veteran. He is exactly who they thought they were going to get, a seasoned pro, a guy that started as a freshman at Kansas State, and the game never was too big for him. And also Josh Hayes is down here as well. He's a special teams ace, a gunner in Tampa Bay. I've had the privilege of actually covering quite a few K-Staters down here. Josh Freeman, Martin Gramatica, Darnell McDonald had a cup of coffee in Tampa Bay. Aaron Lockett was drafted by John Gruden. So it's been cool to see some K-Staters come through here.
And speaking of Gruden, you've had some interesting coaches come through too.
Yeah, for sure. Bruce Arians, John Gruden, Tony Dungy. You know, Tim and I, you and I have kind of chatted about the Wildcats. Shocker, right? But but you know, coaching matters, and I think that's one of the things that when I look at this Kansas State coaching staff, it's like, where's the star power? You know, and a head coach is only as good as his assistants. And you go back to Bill Snyder. My first year at K-State was 1990, which was the second year under Bill Snyder. And I worked in sports information for 3 of my 5 years up here, and actually wrote for Purple Pride, which is kind of a GoPowercat predecessor. Jeff Grantham.
It was the predecessor to, you know, we actually
Illustrated.
Yeah. Yep.
And so I covered the team for Ben Boyle and sports information, as well as for Jeff Grantham and the alumni fan base. And you know, that Bill Snyder staff, right? You look at all of those coaches that left there, you know, from Bobby Stoops, the co-defensive coordinator, with Jim Levitt. Jim Levitt came down here to Tampa to start the USF Bulls program. You know, Mark Mangino, the list goes on and on. We know all of those coaches that left as a Snyder assistant and became head coaches elsewhere, Brent Venables, Brett Bielema, et cetera. Same thing. It's like when you look at the coaching tree, and I've had the good fortune to cover Tony Dungy, who actually coached under Marty Schottenheimer in Kansas City. Let's talk about that coaching tree for a second. Marty Schottenheimer, Bill Cowher, Gunther Cunningham. Tony Dungy was the defensive backs coach who coached Kevin Ross, who's now the coach of the defensive backs in Tampa. He was the Rock. He was a legend with the Chiefs. And then Tony Dungy left to become a defensive coordinator, replaced by Herm Edwards, right? Bruce Arians, the Bucs head coach, who coached with the Cardinals and the Colts, was the Steelers offensive coordinator, winning Super Bowl with Mike Tomlin. There you go, Gills.
And Big B.
He was the running backs coach for Marty Schottenheimer, coaching Christian Okoye and Barry Word and Harvey Williams.
That's crazy.
You know, Mike McCarthy, all these guys. And so to me, that's the sign of a really elite coach, is when teams are coming after your assistants because they develop players. That's fantastic. John Gruden had Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, Jay Gruden, and Gus Bradley on his staff. Here in Tampa, Tony Dungy had Herm Edwards, Lovie Smith, Rod Marinelli, and Mike Tomlin. Hired all those guys. And so I look at some of the problems with this K-State coaching staff as an outsider, and Big B, you played, this. When you're a coach on the sidelines, your players are your body of work, which you see on the field, which you produce out there. That's a reflection of you. Because at the end of the day, your job is to coach those guys up, develop them, make sure their alignment and assignment. And I think that's really kind of what's missing is you guys have mentioned Connor Riley and Coach True and those fire starters. You need those. But there's been so many promotions from within. Is Coach Kleiman really getting – has he said, this is the best tight ends coach. This is the best O-line coach we can get? I think it's been a little bit more of a comfort thing for him to promote from within. Sometimes you have to give guys an opportunity. But I look and I feel like – and didn't you guys feel like with that Arizona game when Coach kind of came out and said, we as a staff have got to do better? One of the first things he said, that was a reflection of how I think he feels about his coaching staff.
Yeah. Speaking of that, for the other three, I don't know if any of you caught it. I did not catch it, but Caleb on Twitter /X cut this clip of what Coach Kleiman said today. It did not jump out at me at this time, but he said there's no free agency in the season, basically, for coaches.
I saw that.
Yep.
Like, I can't go hire new coaches right now, can I?
Yep.
And I don't know if he meant it that way, but it kind of rang pretty loudly that he's not very happy with his coaches, Brien, and for good reason. But just as your players, if you're a cornerback coach like Van Malone, Jacob Parrish is part of your body of work, you're proud of that. What's on the field this year isn't making anyone proud at any position. And Chris Kleiman is the coach of the coaches.
That's right.
So his body of work overall sucks.
Yeah. I mean, look, there was a lot of people at the time and that said, look, you can make a lot of within hires or, in-house hires. You can do that. Offensive line is not one of those.
Right.
And it never has been one of those where, we'll just make the tight ends coach that for comfort. That's not the right thing to do. Now, I guess in some cases it can be, but not with a guy that's unproven. And that's what is a little bit alarming. And, I heard that today in the press conference. I was going to bring that up today. I'm glad you brought it up, Fitz. But it rings true is that you can't go hire coaches, or free agency. You can't go hire some new coaches right now. You can't, just like you can't go get new players right now either, but you can play different players. You can figure it out. But I think it's just one of those things where, and he's saying this after a week off, Fitz. So my thing is like, they did some soul searching and they're like, okay, these guys aren't coaching the way I want them to coach and we got to fix it.
Yeah.
And maybe you can't fix it. I don't know, but things didn't seem to be going right. I think the week off can help.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what they found out is like, we got a problem here. And maybe we got to make some changes where we didn't want to make changes, or we should have made changes. We got to figure some stuff out because it's not going the right way.
And I don't know if you guys listened or caught this as well, but he said there were some coaches who were out recruiting. He said, but Joe Kleinerman, Matt Wells, and himself all stayed back and, game plan practices, do whatever you need. I thought it was interesting that, it was just those three guys. And it's normal for coaches to go out and recruit on the bye. But I kind of would have expected to see maybe a Matt Wells or a Joe Kleinerman to go out and, really try and go after the guys that they're really targeting. You see the offensive and the defensive coordinator out on the recruiting trail. That maybe means a little bit more than, seeing your position coach to a kid. And so to me, I think Chris Kleiman, just like you guys have said already, they looked around and they said, okay, well, some guys are not pulling their weight. And so it's one of those things where you have to look in the mirror and you have to say, if this guy's not doing his job well enough as a coach, then it's up to you, Chris Kleiman. Then it's up to you, Joe Kleinerman, Matt Wells, to pick up the slack for them because now they know, right? They've had 4 games. They understand if a position group is underperforming, well, that means that there's obviously something wrong, and it's going to be up to that coordinator and ultimately the head coach to help coach their coaches, like you said, Scott.
Yeah, can I just say something real quick, Cole, to what you said? And I want your guys' opinion on this because you know the coaching staff and the lay of the land from recruiting more so than I. Maybe that's a little bit of an indictment. Those guys might not be here next year, right? Because if your focus is on right now and winning, and maybe in your mind you have some changes coming, but you can't do anything now, right? You're in it. You got to fix what's wrong as best you can, win as many games as you can, get to a bowl, right? That's the goal right now. But recruiting be damned with these guys if they're not going to be here, and we'll see. I'm not Chris Lyman. I don't know if he's thinking about replacing those guys or not, but that shouldn't be their concern right now. If you're a coordinator and coach isn't happy with you, you better stay and fix the problem, because you might not even be here for those guys that you're recruiting next year. It doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, I agree. Gills, I was talking as we were waiting for Jerome Tang with our colleagues, Derek Young and Kellis Robinette, and we all agreed that Chris Kleiman had a little bit different tone to him today. A little more reflective, and I felt like he was kind of owning it. He did after the Arizona game, but I feel like after watching film and everything, he knows this is on them, that they're not getting it done. And I thought it kind of came through today in his tone. What did you think?
Sure. And for those that are wanting Fitz or anybody to give Kleiman a hard question and there to be bickering and fighting, A, you're not going to see that. But B, I think Kleiman's words on Monday are probably the closest that you're going to get to him. I wouldn't say admitting anything or raising his voice, but those were the type of words that you're going to hear, and you got to hear them on Monday from Kleiman, right? I think the word that he brought up 3 or 4 times was simplifying things. Yeah. And who cares what Arizona's scheme was or what Iowa State did here or Army's triple option? Kansas State had such deep problems that it didn't matter who it was facing. It all boiled down to some of those issues that, like you said, the coaching staff, the locker room, wherever that may lie, it has to get better. And one thing I do want to plug here on the show, I'm not sure if we'll get into this or not, but I was talking with a former player over the weekend. I know, shocker, GoPowercat talking to former players, but this was one that was in the locker room during the Coach True times. And, I think it's kind of like small talk. Hey, what's the biggest, what everybody asks me ever I go to a wedding or I go to the rec, like, what the heck's happening with K-State football, right? That was the lead question to him. And Coach True, that was like the main answer from him. So I know we've touched on this, guys. We've talked about Coach True and his absence, and Connor Riley deserves a lot of credit for what he did and the tenacity he brought to practice. But boy, Coach True, guys, I think that's the one that maybe set the tone even more than Connor Riley did. Maybe not in practice, right? But just in the weight room and the facilities, his presence meant a lot.
I agree. I mean, and I don't know Ray Thomas, but I hear he's a yeller.
Yeah, and I don't want to have that, what I said, as a jab at him.
Not in the way he approached it. Coach True was very vocal and a very unique voice. And, Brian LePack is not a yeller screamer like Connor Riley was. Connor Riley was really the only guy on the staff that I know of who would MF you on the sidelines if you needed it. And I think they're playing like a bunch of kids that would cry if they got MF'd on the sidelines. And I think I used the word mechanical, going through the motions, and Chris Kleiman kind of affirmed that. Going back and looking, they're not playing with any kind of I don't want to say effort. That's not true, but any kind of love of the game. I'm supposed to be here. This is what I'm supposed to do. And the ball carrier's there. I got him, but you could have gotten him 3 yards back. But you just waited. They're not attacking line of scrimmage, Big B. It's driving me insane.
Yeah, it just seems like guys are just hesitant to do their job. And, this is not a new defensive coordinator. So, it's and I understand there's been a lot of talk about moving to a 4-man line from a 3-man line. But the talk about that isn't schematics. It's more of the player that you're putting in that position. I don't think it has so much to do with schematics. It's still defense is see ball, hit ball, and that doesn't change. I don't care if you have a 1-man line or a 20-man line, whatever it is. It just doesn't seem like there's enough attention to sense of urgency, I should say. I think that's the best word, is there's just not a sense of urgency on the defensive side of the ball for guys to go and get after somebody. And on the offensive side of the ball, again, I know I say it every week, but it's still true. It's just the line. The line, there's no maybe they're doing too much. We'll have the article in the trenches that'll come out tomorrow. I think tomorrow. And you got to simplify some stuff for these guys. Look, if they're not good at doing certain things, what are they good at? And first off, if they're not good at anything, they can't play anymore. That's number one.
That's right.
Let's just start there.
Yeah.
Number two, just figure out what they're good at and just do that. You can change all the formations and the personnel packages and all of that stuff. But you know what? If they're good at blocking in between the tackles, then all of our run plays need to be in between the tackles. Stop running outside if they can't block it, because it doesn't help anybody. It doesn't matter if they know what we're doing or not. Who cares? If you can't do something different anyway, what is the point of even calling the play? It just doesn't make sense. Make it simple. Guys can start playing a lot faster. And if they can do that, they will start being better. This is on both sides of the ball. The guys will start playing faster. And again, if they can't or they won't, then you have to play somebody else. It's just that simple.
My post game, or not post game, my power talk went up a couple hours ago, and it's a busy day. We had a lot going on, so it got up a little bit later. But Scott, I guess it's because I'm old. And in my
I'm old too, Fitz. So.
30 plus years of covering K-State sports, I've been fortunate enough only to cover 3 head coaches. That's amazing. But I've seen a lot of basketball coaches. I've dealt with a lot of different. I appreciate what Chris Kleiman said, that last week was better. And he said it himself, that we have to carry it over. Remember, it's Monday. They haven't practiced this week yet. It has to carry over all the way through Saturday. I will give judgment on that at about 2:30 on Saturday afternoon. Game kicks at 11, right? Because I got to see it to believe it.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to happen before Arizona. It's a league opponent, got your attention. And it didn't.
No.
So I got to see if these guys are putting on a show, like making an effort to look like when my wife wants something done around the house. I make an effort to look like I'm busy.
Right.
I'm not really sure if I'm contributing any to the house cleaning of substance, but by golly,
You're trying to make it look like you are. Yeah. I go back to something that Coach Snyder used to say all the time. Football is a game based on emotion. It just is. And I think it was John Gruden that was famous or once told me, it's like, man, there's 365 days a year. All right. 365 days a year. Right. I need you for 16. Right. I need you for 16 days. That's it. Right. And it's like that. That's really what it's all about. It's like, and I've been thinking a lot about this because, again, I religiously watch all of your podcasts, everything, consume all your content. You guys are the most knowledgeable K-State media that there is. And I feel like I've got such a better understanding of the game and what's happening and what's not happening because of what you're reporting. But I look at this, too, and it kind of goes back to last year a little bit. And I've been reflecting on this. The podcast, or I should say the press conference right before the bowl game, where Chris is just, his head is swimming, right? He's got players that are leaving, right? That like the transfer portal is opening up, and he's letting, or maybe it was the bowl game I was at here in Orlando, right? Where Connor Riley took over as the play caller, and he's like, I haven't even been to bowl prep. I don't even know what we're doing. Right. Like, I know we're supposed to have this press conference, but like, I don't even know because he's having to juggle roster management and all these things. And the one big part of the head coaching job at any level is psychology. It's to set the tempo for your team and say, this is who we are. And if you're not part of this, then you need to go, right? You need to be gone. If you're not going to fit into what we're doing here, like, you got to go. That's part of it. And it's managing players. It's telling someone like Avery Johnson, and I hate to say this, I coached Rocco Beck and Pop Warner. I'm sorry. He's not good because of me. Trust me, I was a defensive coach. Me and his dad Anthony would get into wars because I would like sick him after Rocco in practice, But it's like what we did as a Pop Warner coaching staff was we didn't do any install the first week of training camp because we want to find out who can throw the ball, who can catch it, who can hit, who's fast, who's not, who's angry, who's mean, who do we have to coach out of their shell. First week was what kind of team do we have? Like we didn't know if we were running a 3-4, a 5-2, a 4-3, whatever. We didn't know if we were going to run the ball or pass the ball, right? The kids determined that. You can recruit all you want. We want to recruit this guy for this and all that. Sometimes it didn't work out that way. Sometimes the guys you recruit just aren't good. And if you don't recruit enough good players, you're left with what you have. And you got to make, you got to make the dish with the ingredients you have. And so sometimes I think maybe that's what Kleiman's talking about is we have to do what the kids will allow us to do, or coach them to coach or to get them to do what we want to do. But if they can't do it, your systems don't matter, right? Like we can sit there and say they should run QB power, and get Avery involved in the running game. He doesn't want to take a hit. He doesn't. He's not Colin Klein. He's not Michael Bishop. He's not El Roberson. He literally turns his back and braces for contact. He's not Rocco Becht. And to give Rocco a lot of credit, he's a lot tougher now than he was playing Pop Warner back in the day, and his dad had a lot to do with that. I respect Rocco. But he's not Diego Pavia. He's not these quarterbacks that are going to stick his nose in the pile and move it. And so did K-State get sold a bill of goods with him? I don't know. But I'm a little confused about what this offense is trying to do because of who they have and what they have and what they don't have. And I'm just not sure about Avery Johnson and what he can do well and how Matt Wells is trying to get that out of him.
Hey guys, and
go ahead.
So I think about this, like, how we'll always say, like, oh, in an ideal world, this would work, right? Like you go into the season and you think of something about your team.
Yeah.
You feel like, okay, well, this is the tools we have. This is what we envision the team being. And let's be honest, guys, like from 2020 on, K-State has gone into every year and they have envisioned what their team is going to look like. And for the most part, that vision has been very accurate, right?
Yeah.
Like save 2022, they thought Adrian Martinez would be a dynamic, dual threat, and he was, and then he got hurt.
Right.
And then they completely changed how they wanted to do things with Will Howard. The next season, what they envisioned with Will Howard is pretty much what they got. They envisioned last year with Avery Johnson, pretty much what they got until the struggle started.
Yeah.
And this year, they added all these receivers. They have Dylan Edwards, they have Lincoln Kier, they have all these giant tight ends. They're like, oh, this is what we envision our team looking like. And the reality is, for whatever reason, it hasn't been like that. So instead of trying to, put a square peg in a round hole, like you have to make an adjustment. And so I know a lot of folks have been upset that the bye week came at the time that it did. But for the circumstance that you're in,
perfect
for being where your feet are, it's absolutely perfect. And so, I think it's easy for fans, it's easy for media to look around and say they've completely underperformed, and they have. And it's easy for the coaches to say they've completely underperformed. But the bye week came at the perfect time for them if they utilized it correctly, which that's a whole nother conversation. Right. But if they utilized it correctly to say, this is where our feet are, we have to change what we thought we were, and we have to change it to what we are right now. And if they did that, there's no reason that they can't be successful because we've seen these same players have success before.
Big B, they're not using their quarterback the best way possible. They're just not. I mean, we know that there's some kind of restraint, whether it's outside or within his own noggin, that is preventing Avery from tucking the ball and taking off on some passing situations that don't develop properly. But if he's being told to do this, you've taken a dual threat quarterback and taken the dual and the threat out of it. And that means he's not a good quarterback. He's not a pocket passer. If you're trying to make him a pocket passer, well, that experiment has failed because nobody's going to want a mid-level pocket passer who's scared to run. It's not how football's played. Mm-mm. And I'm just going to be blunt. If this is who Avery has evolved or devolved into, it might be time to look, see if someone else can take some snaps and be the guy that bloodies his nose to pick up a first down. Because I think if a quarterback went in and did that, did a Rocco Becht and just said, I'm getting this first down. I'm going to run over this dude. The whole team would go nuts.
It'd ignite.
I don't know, man. I'm just at that point. Saturday's huge in my book for not just his team, but for the quarterback.
Well, look, I think people try to, first of all, the expectations on Avery were just outrageous last year. People that maybe didn't understand how football actually worked thought he was going to walk in and just be Lamar Jackson. And I'm sorry. Look, I know I'm a Louisville fan because I grew up there. It is what it is. But Avery is not even remotely in the same stratosphere as Lamar Jackson was in college, not the professional ranks. I'm just talking about in college. They're not the same person. But you know what Lamar Jackson did do? Lamar Jackson would put his shoulder down and run through somebody. Mm-hmm. And you think Louisville had somebody behind him that was even close to as good as him? They didn't. But what did he do? We need a yard. I'm going to get a yard. And he does it today. Mm-hmm. And they have to tell him today, oh, hold on, man. Oh, you got to stop doing it. And he still does it today. It's a mindset. And Avery had it as a freshman, but all he was doing was running the football. And then he did it some last year, and then he got hurt, and then he couldn't do it. And then now he's just not doing it. And he's got to get back to the point. Now, again, the QB power runs, I think that's a mistake. Yeah. K-State doesn't employ a fullback. You can't be running QB powers if you're not going to have the power. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. It's never made any sense to me. So whatever. Having said all of that, you can go get a yard. He's got to play better. He's got to be better. Again, he's not a pocket passer. I don't think you have to be a pocket passer. You see the stuff in the NFL. Yeah. If that's where he's trying to go, yeah, you have to be pretty good in the pocket. Don't get me wrong. But you have to be able to move around. And, Scott, I know you follow a guy there in Baker Mayfield. Yeah. If he has to put his head down to get a yard, he is going to run through, separate his shoulder, pop it back in place, and go throw a 40-yard touchdown the next play if he has to. Yeah. I'm just saying at some point you got to be willing to put it on the line for your football team. Yeah. As the leader.
He is the igniter down here in Tampa, right? Yeah. And just a quick little Baker Mayfield story. I know he's a boomer sooner, but he's 6 foot, maybe 210. I mean, he's not physically impressive whatsoever. But I remember the very first OTA, the off-season practice that the Buccaneers had when they kind of took him off of the scrap heap, right? I mean, in one calendar year, he went from being the face of the franchise in Cleveland to being traded to Carolina and then being cut and picked up by the Rams and then picked up for a 1-year, $4 million deal in Tampa, right? So 4 teams, 1 calendar year. You go from face of the franchise to journeyman. His very first OTA, he's going to be battling Kyle Trask, who was he used to be a backup here, former Florida Gator, second-round draft pick. Very first practice, Baker Mayfield goes over in the calisthenics line. You've all the red jerseys over here for the defensive players, all the white jerseys over here for the offensive players. He's got an orange jersey on. He's a quarterback. And he goes and he walks right over and gets in line right next to Vita Vea, the Pro Bowl defensive tackle. And he inserts himself in the defense. He's not over there by Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, 2 receivers that he has to start to figure out, and develop chemistry with. No, he's not with the offensive linemen. Right, the guys that he has to get to know because they're going to be protecting him. Baker Mayfield's psyche was, I don't want to be the quarterback here. I don't want to be the leader of the offensive huddle. I want to be the leader of the team. From the very first practice, he ingratiated himself with the defense. And he won those guys over because he knew he was going to win the offensive guys over. He knew that was already like in the bag with how he was going to play. And that first game against the Minnesota Vikings in week 1, he had a scramble and he shoved some Vikings defensive back down. He says, "You better get your weight up, boy," and that just ignited the whole sidelines. And from that moment, 15 minutes into his first NFL start in Tampa Bay, he had that team wrapped around his finger just because of a run. And he led the team back and they beat Kirk Cousins and the Vikings. But like that's the power of the quarterback position. And I think one of you guys said like Eli Manning was never like that guy, right? But they had Jason Pierre-Paul in New York. They had other guys. So if your quarterback is not that dynamic personality, like Josh Freeman was not that guy down here. He was like milquetoast, right? But you had other players on the team that did that. But Baker is the heartbeat of the Buccaneers. He is the engine for the offense. And if that's not going to be Avery Johnson, then it's Chris Kleiman's job as the chief psychologist of the team to find that player and say, like, Avery's not that guy personality-wise. I need you to be this guy, whether it's the running back, the tight end, whoever it is. You have to find the ass kicker. You got to find the fire starter. Tony Dungy was as mild-mannered as could be. Herm Edwards was his sheriff. Herm Edwards was the guy that would MF you and get in your face and all that. And then the funny thing is, and you'll appreciate this, Gills and Big B, when Herm Edwards went to go and become the head coach of the Jets, Monty Kiffin and Tony Dungy hired this guy named Mike Tomlin, who was a 31-year-old defensive backs coach, I think with the Cincinnati Bearcats or William and Mary, some school like that. And the reason why that they went out, they didn't promote the guy from inside. They went out and they hired Mike Tomlin because he had a young Herm Edwards type of swagger and demeanor. And that's what they wanted from their defensive backs. They wanted guys that were ball hawks. And in Mike Tomlin's second year as the defensive backs coach in Tampa Bay, they won the Super Bowl in 2002. And the Buccaneers had 31 interceptions, a record that still stands today in Tampa because of Mike Tomlin, because he got that out of the players. And he was younger than John Lynch, his Pro Bowl safety, by like a year or two. Coaching matters. It just does.
Gilbert, I want to ask you this question because Scott brings up a great point. You've been around Avery, you've been around Will, you've been around Skyler, and Fitz. I'll open this up to you too. And all these different quarterbacks. Like last year when K-State was rolling, Scott, you talk about being the heart of the team. I felt like Avery Johnson was the heart of the team. Like he was playing well. He was a leader. He was vocal. Maybe not completely on the sidelines, but Fitz, you always talked about it. Like that is the adult in the room. When things start to go south, his teammates look to Avery and Avery's like, we've got this. And I almost wonder what happened. Like, can he get back to that? I don't know, but I'm asking you this, Ryan. Like, Will Howard was the heartbeat of that team. The thing about Will is that when it got bad for everybody because Will let his emotions take over him. His emotions controlled him. That never really seemed to bother Avery, which I think is part of the reason why Casey had so much success in the beginning part of last year. But I mean, am I wrong with that observation? Like, it feels like, we talk about Avery needs to do this, Avery needs to do that, but we've already seen him do that. He's just not doing it now, which is why it's so perplexing.
What immediately came to my mind, Cole, and I'm not saying I disagree with you, but Avery had a guy by the name of DJ Giddens to kind of take a lot of weight off of his shoulders. And when things were going good, obviously it's easy to be a leader. And you mentioned things going south a little bit, like the game after BYU, K-State did respond, albeit against a pretty poor Oklahoma State team. Yeah, you're right, but Avery never really faced anything up until that Houston loss. And ever since then, I mean, the whole program hasn't been the same, but I think Avery Johnson isn't off the hook either. He hasn't been the same at all. And Will Howard, I think, was maybe just more comfortable being that guy through the good and the bad, right? Avery was comfortable as hell being the quarterback number one on a team that was winning, that was 7-1 through its first 8 games. Leading when you're losing is not as easy. And maybe just to put a bow on some of the stuff that was talked about earlier, Cole and Fitz, I did want to say, you guys mentioned Kleiman, right? And the bye week and all that stuff, but watch what they do, not what they say, right? We talked with, it was Will Swanson, Austin Romaine, Travis Bates, and Wesley Fair. We talked to them on Monday, and kind of the overall, you can watch it. It'll be on GoPowercat after this is up, shortly after, but the overall kind of vibe and gist of it was we had a good off week. It was great to hit the reset button. Travis Bates mentioned there was a little more fire, some more competition within some one-on-one drills or team drills, stuff like that. And I got to see it to believe it, Fitz. I haven't watched her talk yet, but
Yeah.
I think things are sounding promising, but if everybody had given up on the season, I still think you would hear the same stuff no matter what. So Saturday, that's when, 2:30, you mentioned it, Fitz. That's when you can really take your judgment there. But watch what they do, not what they say. I got that from one of my favorite reporters I follow for the Steelers. Sorry, Scott. It's not you.
No, you nailed it. Absolutely. Yeah.
He said he snuck something else in. I think it was probably in that answer about free agency for coaches. I think Tim Everson was asking about this is the 4-game limit. They're at it.
Mm-hmm.
If you want a red shirt and you played all 4 games, now's the time.
Yeah.
And he said, "Yeah, we're dealing with that." And I'm like,
yeah,
well, who? But
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
That's what I was thinking. Was like who? Like what? Who's having those conversations?
And honestly, if you're Dylan Edwards and you try to go against UCF and the foot goes again, I'm going to give it one more try. And if the foot goes, I'm just down for the season.
Yeah.
I got to look out for my career at some point and say, I don't want to put on film a bad version of me and preserve the year, because he has not taken a red shirt like Avery, like Austin Romaine, like Chase Brown. But at the end of the day, the head coach picks his coaches, and those coaches pick the players, and on down. It always goes back to the head coach. Chris Kleiman knows that. He's I don't know if people think he's denying ownership of that, but he never has. He's just gotten very, almost like he's past the anger stage now of how badly they're playing, and he's into, okay, we got to deal with this and figure this out.
We got to fix it. Yeah.
Yeah. There's nothing, being angry isn't doing it. We've got to come up with solutions. And Big B, I question if the solutions are viable within the course of a season, because I think there's so many problems right now. It's play calling, it's scheming, it's effort, it's fundamentals, bad blocking. If you're an offensive lineman and you don't block well and you're not aggressive, your team's going to be shitty.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the reality of the sport. If the guys don't have it, they don't have it. And again, that goes back to the coaches who recruited them and the coach who hired those coaches.
Yeah. I mean, you can fix some stuff. They have a ton of problems, and we've all talked about them, but just fix first thing, just fix one thing. And I think the first thing you got to fix is the give a shit.
Yeah.
If you can fix that first, and they can say all they want about we care and rah, rah, rah. Like you said, Gil, show me that you care. And to me, it's not, because I wasn't a person that got on the sideline. And again, I don't want to talk about me, just people in general. You don't have to be the guy, the big rah, rah person on the sideline and yelling and screaming and jumping up and down. You don't have to be that guy to give maximum effort and to get other people to galvanize around you to give effort. You don't have to be that person, but somebody has to be a guy that everybody can look at and say, okay, this guy is going crazy on the field. Mm-hmm. We need to do the exact same thing. And right now they don't have that. Again, I'm not a big rah-rah type of a person, but I do think, and I've said this over and over again, you need an asshole in the locker room. You just got to have one, man. You need more than one. You probably, on a college football team, you need about 10 to 15. You got to have them. And if you don't, it's a problem. But getting back to your question, Fitz, fix that. And if you can fix that part first, then you can move on, and then you can try to attack other things, because who knows? Maybe if the maximum effort in the give a shit gets fixed, maybe some fundamentals actually get fixed in the process. Who knows what can happen? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Just fix that first. And if you can, which again, that's tricky. I mean, we've all followed football for a long time. That can be tricky. That's not just hey, go out there and play hard. No, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
So that can be tricky. But if you can fix that, other stuff will fall in line. I promise it will. I've been around football for over 40 years.
Yeah.
That works. Just fixing that part works. The schematics be damned, the play calling be damned, all this other stuff. That's in the back burner. That should be on the back burner until you can fix this. And if
it's the A and the E, right? The attitude and the effort.
Yes,
Everybody
absolutely.
can control that. Everybody
Yes.
can control attitude and effort. Other things are out of your control, right? Your place of the depth chart, the play calls, your opponent, who you're going up against in your one-on-one matchup. You can't control anything but your attitude and your effort. But if you have a good attitude and a good effort, that can get you far.
Yep.
It can change you. It can change the team.
I think it's the most tangible. I truly believe that. Like, it is hard. It's incredibly difficult to do that. But again, I think it's the most tangible because all it takes is 11 guys who are on the field at one time. And if they can develop that mentality, well, guess what? Then it spreads to 11 more guys. And then it starts to spread throughout the entire team. And in baseball, here we go again. I'm making an analogy with baseball. They say hitting is contagious.
Yeah.
If one guy gets a hit, then the next guy starts to get a hit. It's all mental. Like I'm at that point with K-State. Like, are they as talented as we maybe thought they were? No. But that doesn't mean that they can't still be competitive down the stretch. And I've watched a lot of Big 12 football, Big B. I know you have as well. Like right now, there looks like one quote unquote dominant team, maybe. Like, I don't even know how good Utah is. But every game, K-State is going to have a chance to win. Like, if they fix their attitude, if they fix their effort, there's no reason that they won't be in every single game, just like they have already, even with a horrible attitude, even with horrible effort. They've been in every single game, and nobody wants to hear that. And Chris Kleiman even said it hasn't been good enough, and it hasn't been good enough, and that's why they're 1-3. I know it's a tall task, but man, it just feels very tangible. We're not sitting here talking about, they have a 6'2", 250-pound left tackle. The quarterback is, 2-star Riley County High School. Sorry, Riley County. Jordy Nelson, John McGraw legend. By the way, shout out to the Falcons. But, like, come on, guys. Like, we've seen these guys have success. Fix your attitude, fix your effort, and I mean, it's easier said than done, but it's very tangible.
I was watching that Texas Tech Utah game, which was a fantastic football game on Saturday. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm watching Texas Tech swarm around on defense and rally to the ball, get takeaways, and I'm like, man, K-State used to play like that. I miss that.
Scott,
that used to be K-State football.
They did it from the opening snap until the last snap that they were on the field.
No mercy.
No mercy.
Sweep the leg. Yeah.
It was, and I tweeted it out because obviously I do Big 12 Insider. So
Absolutely.
I'm like, first of all, this Tech team, this defense is different.
Yeah.
Because before you could do whatever you wanted on a Tech team. You're not going to be able to do that this year. Yep. And they have guys, and they were up and down the field from the very first snap. Yep. I said, whoa, boy, they got a bunch of athletes on that defense, and they love to hit people.
They do.
And we don't have that right now on our defense. We don't have a bunch of athletes that like to hit people. And that's the difference. We don't have that right now.
Okay, Gills, you have the honor and pleasure. I think pleasure's a good word to be around me all the time. Particularly when I'm driving. Mm-hmm. Give me a quick description of Tim Fitzgerald behind the wheel.
Everybody is a bad driver. You slap your steering wheel. You curse. If Jerome Tang heard the amount of curse words that you say when you're driving, you'd be in big trouble.
Okay, now what else outside of a vehicle gets me that fired up? The start of a game when the team comes out of the locker room and those
guys
not
running down the field. Yeah, right.
We're gonna go play football.
Hold on.
Days, Tim. That's all it is.
I'm not familiar. Tell me what you
12
mean by
days, that. Right? You get 12 games. 12 days to show up and play.
Run on the field. Let's go play a game.
Yeah,
right.
At Arizona, half the guys they're supposed to go to the other end zone.
Right.
And quite often they kneel and have a prayer. But about half the guys just quit and just wandered out of the group and went to the sideline. Didn't even make it to the they don't even put effort into coming onto the field. They act like it's tedious to go play football.
Gotcha.
And it drives me insane. And you know where I first noticed it last year? Houston.
Yeah.
And maybe it was because our seats there, we were the press box, we were down there.
Was it just a bunch of linemen? Because I can speak as a lineman. No, I get to the 40-yard line and I made a beeline to the left. I'm like, okay. I came out like.
Yeah. Well, Big B froze up on us, right?
I
At a
got
perfect
about
time.
to the 40, and I'm like, okay. I need to play a football game. I got to rest.
I think at Arizona, more guys didn't make it to the end zone than made it.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
unacceptable.
And
I want
even
to
the
ask you
guys that
something,
made it-
Tim, because you've talked about this, and I agree with you. I'm a big fire starter myself. When I coached, I was like that guy, and
Yeah.
like passion, energy. Let's get revved up to play and all that. Like you said, Big B, it shows from the opening kickoff, set the tone right there, and then finish right. But you remember the cat pack, right? When Snyder had the guys with the family block and stuff come out, and I understand. Coach Kleiman doesn't want to be Snyder 2.0. He wants to put his own spin on things. But that, to me, as a fan, I used to get fired up watching the cat pack, watching all those guys come out and sway together, locked arms as one big unit with the big block that said family on it. That got me as a fan fired up. I know those players were fired up. And that was at the start of they walked out of the tunnel together, locked, and then like the music's playing and they're swaying. And then all of a sudden it's like a shotgun blast. Then they all scattered and they all took off running. That got my heart racing. I would imagine the same thing happened to players. Can't Kleiman or somebody get something like that going again?
Well, and it kind of goes back to the competitive nature that I don't think a lot, and I think it's a society thing more than just a K-State thing. But back when I played, they used to race to the other end of the end zone, and they would have bets on who would win running out. And it wouldn't, obviously the fastest guys on the team would get there, but it would be 15 to 20 guys trying to be the first guy to the other end of the end. And it was just a competitive thing. Now I would, hey, go, but yeah, that would be the thing. They would literally have bets on who would win to start the game, and it just got you fired up to see those guys competing like that, even though I wasn't one of them. But it got me fired up just to see them doing it. You're like, you know what? We're ready to play a football game today. And it means something. Now, I'm not going to get into because we didn't have the family block. We didn't do that. So I don't want to speak on that, on whether it got those guys fired up, but it appeared to. I watched the games just like you did. It appeared to get those guys fired up. Look, I don't want to be too critical of that because everybody's different. And again, like I mentioned before, it's more of a societal thing than just a K-State thing. But somebody's got to get the guys fired up to play football. Something has to get the guys fired up to play football. It doesn't seem like there's enough getting them ready and getting them going to start a football game. Just my appearance. That's just what I see.
Tim, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Avery say they came out flat?
They came out
Arizona
every game.
Sure did.
Yeah.
And Big B, I think it says a lot about your team when we're competing who goes onto the field the best.
Absolutely.
Let alone what happens between whistles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to turn this into everything's a competition.
Yes.
I'm going to prove to you I'm better.
Absolutely. Yep. And it was the biggest one that anybody, if you want to go back and look, you're talking about the old days. Okay, great. Go watch the opening of the Fiesta Bowl. Go watch that, and you go see the guys sprinting out. Now, granted, it's the Fiesta Bowl, and K-State had never been to the Fiesta Bowl. I understand. But you go look at the guys sprinting out and how fast they're looking at each other, running down to the other end of the end zone, trying to be the first person down there. It was just a pride thing. It's
part of the culture.
You got guys ready to play, and we all knew it. So it wasn't like those guys had a secret bet. No, we all knew what was going on. And it was just important. It was just important. And again, I was one of those guys. I was leading them out there. I was striding out. I had my chest out. But it just you gotta do something to compete. I think the guys can get it, but somebody's got to help them get it. So somebody's got to help them do it.
Guys, here's what I'm gonna watch.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
Our comment section is you guys are killing it, and I've seen about 10 comments I want to pop up. But let me pop this one up real quick because Jeff, you're right. We'll know after the first quarter.
Yep.
If they're not invested in the first damn quarter.
Yep.
100%.
If I was a fan, I would say, I got cold beer at the tailgate. I'm gonna go out there. There's all kinds of college football I can pull up on the satellite dish.
Yeah,
right.
And I'm not big on quitting on your team, but they have to earn the loyalty. They've taken advantage of the loyalty.
Yeah.
And I keep coming back to this. 15,000 fans dug into their savings, and only about 5% comfortably could afford it, I bet, maybe 10. Everyone else scraped and put together a trip that they could go watch their guys play in Ireland.
Yeah.
Maybe I missed it. Maybe I did. Have I heard a player say those fans were incredible? Your fans are special. The people in Dublin noted it, that the two programs, the fans were invested, not just mentally, but spiritually and financially.
But kids don't understand that, Fitz.
They don't.
They don't
And that's
understand
one of
that.
the things, again, you bring it up. It's generational.
Yeah.
Hey, well, see,
I don't even necessarily blame them for that, for kids not understanding that. I mean, you got to have that. I mean,
a lot
that's
of the kids
parental
are making
thing.
more money than the people in the stands now.
Right. And they don't.
And I don't fault them for that.
Yeah.
But if you're the wealthy guy who doesn't understand that other people aren't wealthy, you're an asshat.
Well, there's plenty of those besides college football players.
Oh, yeah.
That don't get that. But I get. They just don't. I don't know. I mean, that's just a society thing. They just don't understand. They don't understand it. It's not even their fault that they don't understand. It's like I always talk about. It's like kids these days you can't be too tough on them. You can't be too hard on them. You can't scream. You can't cuss, yada, yada, yada. And I always think, well, I got screamed at. I got I got yanked up. But and now I don't have kids, but it's people my age that all those atrocities happen to. Yeah. They now don't allow that to go on with their kid. And then you wonder why some of the things happen. And I'm like, yeah, like we have become the wimps. And now we are allowing our kids to at some point. And again, this is not everybody. So everybody doesn't fall into that. But as a whole, it's true. And I'm not saying that cussing somebody out is always the way. I would never. No, I agree. I'm not that big of a cusser myself.
Got to be with a purpose.
Correct.
But it's got to have a purpose.
Yes. And when it is, it's effective. It's effective. And that's why I think Connor Riley was effective, because Connor Riley probably cussed in just his everyday conversation, and kids got used to that. Yeah. And then when he meant business, you knew he meant business, and there was a difference. And now if somebody tries to cuss him out that doesn't normally, kids will see right through that, and they don't take it serious.
Yeah.
Fitz, you talked about the fans, and I think, I agree, but also I disagree, because these recruits that come and commit to Kansas State, I get to talk to basically every single kid who decides that they want to come to Kansas State to play football. And universally, you know what they talk about? They talk about how great the fans are.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree.
And so these kids should know. They do know when they're recruits. The amount of kids that I've talked to, even after K-State loses to Army, even after K-State beats North Dakota by 3, who say, that was an amazing experience. The environment was amazing. The fans are crazy. Even though the team didn't play as good, like, it was an incredible experience. And I could see myself going to K-State. Like, that's 95% of the kids that visit K-State. So that's not lost on them. I truly believe right now that the group before the bye week was just swimming, right? Like it snowballed and it went downhill. And you guys know what they say. It goes downhill fast. Yeah. And that's what's happened. And it's their job. You would hope, if you're a K-State fan, the bye week slowed that momentum. And I'm fired up. Like, I'm excited for Saturday, because I want to see what this team comes out with. And I want to see what they're made up of. And, if Chris Kleiman, we say, let's wait and see, you know what? It's on him too. You got to get your team ready to play. And if they are ready to play, to be honest, guys, if they're ready to play, they'll beat UCF. Like, I know we're going to have plenty of time to dig into this matchup, but if they're ready to play, I think they can beat UCF. So I want to see it. I'm fired up, to be completely honest.
And we will. Big B, Cole, and I have the K-State pregame show. Cole and Monty Spiller have the walkthrough with Monty Spiller coming up. We got a lot of coming at you this week. But Ryan Gilbert, we got two final things I want to touch on here. One, we had Jerome Tang today.
Yeah.
He said all the right things.
Yes.
He sounded like, I get it now because I see the difference. This team's different than the last two. It's more like the first one. At least that's the vibe he put off. And these guys are getting after it. It was a very optimistic preview of the season.
Yeah, Tang did a good job of giving you that the main course was the purple Kool-Aid, and then the side dish was the truth. I was hesitant about bringing CJ Jones back, or this player here, Nate Johnson needs to be giving, all in every single day, to paraphrase him, right? Like, he, of course, is saying all the right things, but if you listen, he's not just sunshine pumping his program.
Right.
He's being truthful and he's being honest. And not that I don't enjoy Chris Kleiman's weekly pressers, but there's just something about, that aura of Jerome Tang when he starts speaking, he kind of commands that room and he's fun to listen to. So yeah, obviously I'm excited for hoops. You guys know me, I'm the hoops guy, but yeah, I think as of September 22nd, we're hearing some really good things about this team.
Okay, Scott, our guest always gets the final word. Anything you want to promote about your work or your final thoughts on K-State athletics?
You can follow me on pewterreport.com or Pewter Report TV, or YouTube channel. If you're a big Jacob Parrish fan, we do a lot of stuff on him. I'm a home guy myself when it comes to my alma mater. I'll say this. I think my final thought is this program has kind of taken things for granted. I don't mean that in a negative way, like there was a carelessness about this. It's almost like the term ignorant. If I say, hey Tim, you're ignorant, I'm not necessarily saying that as an insult.
Right.
I'm saying like the literal definition of the word. You may not know this, right? Or whatever. And so when I say take it for granted, I'm not necessarily saying there's a slight. It's just that, hey, you know what? We're going to reduce the number of spring practices, and we're going to get stronger in the weight room, and that's going to work. And it didn't. And we're going to change to a 4-3 defense because we kind of need to, because teams are running the ball. We want to get better with having some speed on the edge to rush the passer, and that hasn't happened. And we're K-State, we're always physical. We always win in the line of scrimmage in the trenches. And so that's just what we do. We win on both sides of the ball, but they haven't. We always play with this chip on our shoulder. We're Kansas kids, we're a walk-on driven program. One thing Mike Tomlin always said when he was here is it's not the John Lynch's and the Rondé Barbers that run the room. It's the practice squad DBs. They run the room from the bottom up, right? And, one of Rondé Barber's a good friend of mine. I remember him saying a long time ago when Mike Tomlin came, and this is a 30-year-old Mike Tomlin, and Mike Tomlin, Rondé Barber like this. Rondé was a Pro Bowler at the time, and Mike Tomlin said, hey, you're small and you're not fast, and they're going to try to draft someone to replace you. And he's like, what do you mean? like, didn't I just make a Pro Bowl? Didn't I just have 10 interceptions last year? And that was that mentality of like, they're going to try to draft somebody to replace you. And then 16 years later, Rondé Barber is a Hall of Famer, because of that mentality of, hey, you better look over your shoulder. They just drafted this guy in the 4th round, and I'm going to coach him up just like I'm coaching you up, Rondé. I just think that so many things that we have come to expect from Kansas State that have kind of been the standard. They've been the standard so long, and even under Chris Kleiman, that they just kind of get taken advantage of.
Yeah.
Right. And that, we'll replace Colin Klein with Connor Riley. We'll replace Connor Riley with Matt Wells. And all of those things sound good in principle. They just haven't worked. But I think cumulatively, a lot of things they've tried this year haven't worked.
Right.
And I think that's where Kleiman has got this leaky dam, and he's trying to plug all the holes, and he only has 10 digits.
100%. That was a great way to end the show. Always appreciate it. Really good show. And
it's an honor to be on with you guys. You guys do great
more
work.
Coming this week from GoPowercat. Appreciate everyone watching, everyone in the comments over there. You had it cooking tonight. It was beautiful. Many more things to talk about this week, and we will do so at GoPowercat.com. Thanks for watching, everyone.
Thank you for watching the K-State Insiders. This has been a GoPowercat.com and Spirit Street production.